Show my audience.
Sound like she wakes up. You done sisters?
Don't need you to get talked about. So you need, don't stop, keep going, go be it.
Good evening. I'm Lisa Stevens, and I'm presenting to you today on the topic of how to get the medical imaging educator job you want. So just to give you a little bit of background information about who I am, I'm currently a registered technologist with the registry in radiology and computed tomography. I've also attended Central Georgia Technical College, where I've received my Associate of Applied Science degree in radiologic technology and advanced imaging, which has also given me certifications in computed tomography as well as magnetic resonance imaging. I'm currently enrolled at Emory University, in which I'm pursuing my Bachelor's of Medical Science in Education. So the first step in getting the medical imaging educator job that you want is securing the interview. First, you must meet the education requirements. Those vary depending upon the job in which you're applying for. They can range anywhere from an associate's to a master's degree. And a couple of the opportunities available for medical imaging educators are a clinical instructor, which is a volunteer unpaid position and solely works at the clinical sites. There's also the adjunct instructor position. Those are paid positions from the colleges, and those do involve some didactic learning as well. A clinical coordinator. They pretty much coordinate with the clinical education with the clinical sites, and they maintain those agreements that we have with them. And then last, there's a program chair. The program chair is the lead of the radiology programs within those departments in the colleges. They serve as a liaison between the students, staff, and administration. Now you're ready to look for a job. Indeed.com is one of the websites that I kind of favor. This particular site enables you to search jobs posted on over 1,000 sites, and employers are able to post jobs there directly as well. It is the world's #1 job site. It has over 180 million unique visitors each month from over 50 different countries. So as you can see here, I've typed in radiology instructor, and here's a listing of all the positions that are currently available throughout the United States. We have one there in Fort Worth, Texas, Charlottesville, Virginia, as well as an adjunct instructor position in Tacoma, Washington. So in addition to getting the radiology instructor jobs, you'll also get jobs with radiology as a keyword as well. Next is the Technical College System of Georgia, which is abbreviated TCSG. The Technical College System of Georgia oversees the state's technical colleges with 22 colleges and more than 18 radiology programs in the state of Georgia. Their website also has a direct link to all of the open positions, not only in radiology, but any position that's hiring within or any school that's hiring within the Technical College System of Georgia. So as you can see here, they start at the very beginning with Albany Technical College, and they go down as far as the last college being, let's see here, Wiregrass Technical College. So you're also able to use this as another source for finding the radiology imaging or medical imaging education job that you're looking for. Another great resource when we're thinking about looking for these jobs are your former instructors. They are a great opportunity to kind of get information about who's hiring. They can keep you informed of when they're actually hiring within their departments. They can also let you know if they're maybe pursuing other opportunities or getting promoted. So that might leave their positions vacant. Also, professional organizations such as the ASRT and the AEIRS, also called AIRS, are great premier professional organizations that also provide links to careers as well. I know in particular the American Society of Radiologic Technologists is one of the premier associations for people in radiology and radiation therapy. So your next step is deciding on choosing a CV or a resume. The primary differences between a CV and a resume are their length, what is included, and what each is used for. While both are in job applications, they can be used in job applications, a resume and a CV are not always interchangeable. A resume is a 1 or 2 page summary of your skills, experiences, and your education. While a resume is brief and concise, no more than a page or two, a curriculum vitae or a CV is a little bit longer and provides a more detailed synopsis. A curriculum vitae includes a summary of your educational and academic backgrounds as well as your teaching and research experience, publications, presentations, awards, honors, affiliations, and other details. If you're applying in Europe or say the Middle East, Africa, or Asia, employers actually may expect a CV from you, a curriculum vitae versus a resume. And in the United States, the CV is primarily used when you're applying for academic, education, scientific, or research positions. It is also applicable when you're applying for fellowships or grants as well. I would definitely recommend using a CV when you're applying for an education position, such as a medical imaging educator. So I want to just elaborate a little bit briefly on how to write a successful CV. There are a couple things that you want to avoid. Those are your generic skills. Sadly, on top of their skills relevant to the job, many candidates feel the need to use very common generic skills to look impressive or sound impressive. Some examples of those would be they're proficient in Microsoft Word, communication skills, and leadership. What they should use instead, rather than adding those extra skills that may look good, highlight skills that closely match the ones that your employer is looking for. You can pick up from their job specifics when you're looking at the actual job descriptions. Another thing we want to avoid is fluff. These are just basically empty words or phrases that many of us add in simply to fill our CVs. Examples of those would be very vague adjectives like experienced, great, or leader. What we should use instead are choose the hard and factual stuff about yourself. Avoid the temptation of including every single thing that you've ever done. Giving the reader enough information to understand your skills and talents, but don't bury your most important successes in unnecessary detail. The less is more. Give the reader just enough information. Nothing is more worse than a CV that instead of editing out all of the fluff that the applicant has gone through and used really tiny font and even tinier margins to fit everything into a smaller number of pages. Your CV is also an opportunity to showcase your communication skills as well. So don't waste this. Lastly, you want to pay attention to your repeats. Read through your CV to check for repeated terms. Avoid using exact same words more than once. What you should use instead is if you've already checked for the fluff and the generic skills discussed earlier, you probably won't find too many repeated words. However, if a few still remain, just rework the sentence. To help your CV rise to the top of the pile, think of it as a statement of your personal brand. It helps to make you stand out from other applicants for the same job, even if they have very similar backgrounds. Next, I'd like to talk about a social media presence. Social media presence is an added benefit to the employment process. Many employers now use social media to scout potential employees. One site I definitely recommend is LinkedIn. Professional pictures only. And I'm going to pull up my site here. This is actually my professional profile page. Professional pictures only, as I stated earlier. None of you engaging in informal activities or pictures with multiple people in them. This should be a headshot of you. This showcases your endorsements also from colleagues and other LinkedIn connections. And it's also a way for potential employees to contact you or to connect with you. Now that we are ready to prepare for the interview, let's talk about dressing the part to begin with. Once upon a time, almost everyone wore business suits to job interviews. Andy Teach, who is an author of From Graduation to Corporation, and he's also a host of the YouTube channel From Grad to Corp, states that if you watch old television shows and movies from like the 1950s, men wore suits and ties, and women all wore nice dresses pretty much everywhere. However, over the years, our society has become less conservative when it comes to dress code. Certain industries still require dressing conservatively, but others have a more collegiate atmosphere. And it's not unusual nowadays to find employees wearing shorts, t-shirts, and flip-flops. What you wear to your next job interview, whether you like it or not, your appearance is the first thing people notice about you. And first impressions are usually formed within the first 30 seconds. Appearance affects hiring decisions and plays a major role. Hiring managers need to be able to visualize you in that position that you are trying to fill. On a job interview, your attire makes a statement about yourself before you even open your mouth. A scuffed shoe, a messy bag, or a low-cut t-shirt can speak volumes. You need to wear your power outfit. Most hiring managers actually believe that people who dress appropriately for a job interview are more likely to be successful because they look the part. Conversely, those who dress inappropriately or too informal, for example, may be seen as having a more casual attitude toward work and authority, as well as possessing a lack of understanding of business etiquette in general. It doesn't matter if this is true or not, but what matters is the perception of many hiring managers. Make no mistake, you are being judged as soon as you walk into the room, and the interviewer has made an initial impression on you in the first few seconds they see you based solely on how you look. That may not be fair, but it is a reality in most cases. An interviewer is expecting you to dress appropriately for the interview. If not, you're showing that interviewer that you don't understand the basics of what it takes to be successful in the workplace. If this is the case, though, you already have one strike against you. Your appearance not only shows that you're taking the opportunity seriously, but that you're eager to make a good impression and that you fit in nicely within the education culture. It can also communicate that you have respect for the interviewer. The most important thing for you to bring to an interview is confidence. What you wear and how you wear it helps convey that. If you aren't comfortable in your outfit, that will definitely come across in the interview. So now I want to talk about some things that will help you prepare for the job interview. CBS News published this article called 9 Tips to Prepare for a Job Interview. And in it they suggest the following things. Check Twitter one last time. And most of you know to do your research before you actually head to the interview about the company. But on your way in, just log on to Twitter or the company's website one last time to see if there's any breaking news that you can maybe discuss or relate to during the interview. It will make you seem interested, informed, and help you stand out from other candidates. Check yourself out too, especially if your appointment is after lunch. Find a mirror, do a quick stain, spinach in the teeth check. So simple, yet so often forgotten. And this well-intentioned desire to not be late. Also, you want to respect the front desk. The security team and the receptionist isn't just a gateway to the office. He or she may be the pseudo-spy for your boss to be. Act as if anything you say or do will be relayed to the interviewer. Many candidates don't realize that the receptionist holds more power than they actually think. Starting on the wrong foot with the receptionist could prematurely end your candidacy for that position. And the worst part is that you may never know what happened. Part of showing respect means finishing any cell phone conversations before you enter the building and turning off your ringer. Next, it is great advice to go ahead and use the bathroom beforehand. If you're traveling a longer distance or you're trying to leave a little bit earlier, Make some time to go to the ladies' or men's room before going in for that interview. Nothing is more distracting than when nature calls mid-interview. You may not be able to concentrate fully, and the interviewers will notice that. Having to take a bathroom break also during the interview can come across as being unreliable or a little bit unorganized. Next, you want to scope out your competition. Being aware of the people around you and your surroundings from the time you enter the building until the time you sit down across from that interviewer can give you clues that can really help you excel in the interview. Often people leaving or arriving are your competitors, or you may be waiting in the same other areas as the candidates. See how they're dressed, see how old they are, see what they're carrying. Tailoring your answers appropriately with this information that you gather, and be ready to talk about quality, especially if you notice someone that's older and than you. All the candidates are a lot older than you in the waiting room. Talk about quality rather than quantity of your work knowledge. Next, you want to check out the scenery. Part of being aware of your surroundings is noticing what's on the walls, in the cubicles, and in the lobbies. This can give you a little bit of nuggets of information that can't be found necessarily on Google. Sometimes looking at what's on a whiteboard in a conference room can give you valuable information. Next, you want to get your mind revved up. Ever feel like you settle into an interview after a few minutes after you've gotten in there and kind of calmed down? Well, one expert says, as a former recruiter, I would see candidates come alive 3 minutes or more into the interview. Unfortunately, that's a big strike against you as a candidate. That's 3 minutes too late, as I've already formed an opinion about them. She suggests taking 5 minutes in the waiting room to review any index cards with key points or even an inspirational quote to make sure you're operating at 100% the moment you sit down. Next, you want to organize your grand entrance. An interviewer is not in a surprise situation. You know you'll probably be in a waiting room and at any moment you'll be called in, so be ready. Make sure your first impression is not a wardrobe malfunction. For women, that may be something as simple as a skirt that rises up too far, or for men, that pants are hemmed too short. One job seeker wrote that a guy wore, one expert wrote that a job seeker once wore Mickey Mouse socks to an interview. It was so distracting to the interviewer that he ended up being discarded completely because the interviewer could not pay attention to the entire time. And then the last step, or that tip that we want to be prepared for a job interview, is to smile like you mean it. Of course, you automatically smile when you introduce yourself. You're a reasonable, socially competent human being, right? But the thing is, when you're nervous, you may simply be breezing through the motions, and a half-hearted effort can leave a bad first impression. Too many people are timid through the process of letting receptionists, security, and others know that they're for an interview, as if the job seeker is putting people out. It's hard to turn the attitude around to one of power when you sit in the hot seat. So I recommend starting with confidence the moment you arrive. Next, we're going to talk about what to do during the interview. The day has arrived. You're one step closer to pursuing your dream job of becoming a medical imaging educator. Rather than give you a list of possible answers and questions, or vice versa, questions and answers, or scenarios during an interview, I found a really interesting article from the Huffington Post that focuses on, well, it was written by a blogger by the name of Deborah Stachelsky. And in it, she writes the 8 worst things she's ever said in a job interview. And I just want to share those with you today. The first thing is, sure, I have worked with quotas before. How? Oh, I don't remember. Don't embellish. Don't ever embellish in an interview. It's better to say no than to try and impress them without actually having the experience that they are looking for. You will get caught in a very embarrassing moment, and then you will all forever lose their trust. Another thing she said is, my only weakness is that I'm a perfectionist and I will work too hard. They know what you're doing here. You will not fool them. You're weak, trying to make your weaknesses sound like a strength. This again is another opportunity to be honest and tell them a true weakness, but follow up with how you deal with it and how you compensate for it with your work. Another thing she says is, I'm looking for a new job because I hate my current job. They don't know what they're doing there. Do not talk negatively about your current situation. Employers do not want to hear negative feelings during an interview. This is your only chance to make a great first impression. So don't accidentally suggest that you might badmouth them to another future employer. The next thing she says is, I don't have any questions for you. This is a huge mistake. Not only is this a chance for you to interview them, it's also a chance for, not only is this for a chance for them to interview you, this is also a chance for you to interview them and see if the position or the company are a right fit for you. When you do not ask questions, you come off as desperate, like you'll agree to anything. The fifth thing she states here is, how much does this position pay and do I get a vacation? It is understandable that you want to know your potential salary, but again, wait until you get offered the position and let them be the ones to bring it up. The next thing she says is, your shoes are so cute. As cute as her shoes may be, you do not want to come off as unprofessional, like you're trying to befriend the interviewer. Keep any comments that may come off as sucking up to yourself. I don't know much about your company. Can you tell me more about it? Companies like to feel like you are on a first date. They want to know that you're interested. By not doing research, you blow off any of your chances of getting the position. The last thing she's ever said crazy in an interview was, I'm so sorry I'm late. Traffic was crazy. Interviewers don't care. They don't care. Being late to the interview suggests that you would also be late to work and that you do not value other people's time. Avoid this at all costs. Now we can take a deep breath. The interview is now done. So what's next? Thank you letters. To thank or not to thank? That is the question. Let's talk for a moment about thank you letters. There are many questions to consider when deciding on whether or not to send a thank you letter to the interviewer. Do they really make a difference? Could it be possibly influence the hiring decision in a positive way? Or why should I even bother? Certain experts suggest that they can have a positive impact. Jennifer McClure, who's president of Unbridled Talent, it's a Cincinnati firm specializing in talent acquisition, says that sending a well-crafted and timely thank you note can add a positive impression to an already positive connection. While it won't make a difference in getting hired, it can help them remember you in a sea of people that they interact with on a daily basis. Another expert suggests that if you're not going to take the extra steps to get the job, what will you be like in 6 months? I think it reflects very poorly on the candidate when they don't send them. Also, someone said, I recently filled an open position for which I had 2 very highly qualified candidates. But it was a thank you note that made the difference. One candidate took the time to create a custom 2-dimensional note card with our company's logo and a sincere handwritten message of thanks. I want to hire people who genuinely want to work for my company, and it was clear from her efforts that that was the case. Now, on the counterpart side, there are experts that believe that the notes don't make a difference. Some believe that they're not a deciding factor. A thank you note is seen as good taste and being polite, but I've never seen it come in hand when making a difference in the hiring process. If someone meets the credentials and has a great interview, we're not going to change our minds on making an offer if a thank you note isn't received. On the other side, if someone has a terrible interview or will not be able to do the job, sending a beautiful thank you note will not make them qualified either or change our minds. Some people feel that sending thank you letters after an interview can actually hurt your chances under certain circumstances. And one such case is an expert says it's better to not send one, especially if you're not a good writer or have really poor handwriting. Even if you're a good writer with good handwriting, I don't think it's a great idea because it may seem as being desperate. While a thank you letter may or may not make a difference in hiring, it's still probably a good idea to send one. While many recruiters and hiring managers say they don't care about thank you notes anymore or don't pay attention to them, you never know if that person you're interviewing with does care. So it's best to just check the box and send a thank you note. And if they don't care about it, then it doesn't hurt. But then if it does matter to them, then you've met their expectations. So in closing, congratulations. You're now successful in achieving the medical imaging educator job, only if you remember these steps. Sure to meet the educational requirements, to create an effective CV or curriculum vitae, prepare and perform well on your interview, and follow up appropriately. Thank you.